Welcome everyone, I am Louis Leyva. Today I'm going to answer the question, what is Antifa and why it matters to you? Well, recently there's been a lot of protests and a lot of violence that has caused a lot of business owners to actually lose their physical location due to all this public destruction. And today we're going to cover if Antifa is responsible for inciting all of this violence and all of these terrible atrocities that have been happening all across the country. So stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this. Okay, so this explanation that we're going to give you on this channel is one like no other. We're going to actually break it down very easy for a lot of people who are not politically savvy to understand what's going on here, because this is exactly what this is. And before you change the channel, I am not political. This is not going to get into a who's right or who's wrong. This is just going to give you the straight facts. So before we get started, let me just give you a little bit of a background on where Antifa originated and what they are. So I've looked this up to figure out what is this group all about, and this is what I found. They are a political protest movement affiliated by their militant opposition to fascism and other forms of extreme right-winged ideology. So before we go any further, let me break down what fascism is. It is the forcible suppression of opposition from right-wing dictators. Now, let's explain what a right and left is for those of you who don't know what this means. So if you're a Democrat, you'd be considered to be on the left side of the political scale. If you're a Republican, you'd be considered to be on the right side of the scale. But what fascists are an extreme right. Now, on the extreme left, you'll find people such as socialists, communists, anarchists, and now Antifa as well finds himself on this very extreme left scale when it comes to political beliefs. All right, so now we got that out of the way. Let me just go into a little further. There's a gentleman by the name of Mark Bray, who's a historian at the Rutgers University, and he also authored a book by the name of the Anti-Fascist Handbook. And he states that Antifa is not an organization, but it's more of an ideology or a belief or a system of beliefs, right? Now, they have no headquarters, according to him. They have no leaders. They oppose neo-Nazis and white supremacists, as most people do. You don't have to be an Antifa member to probably oppose that. And their views fall in line with communism, socialism, and anarchy. So we're correct with saying they're extreme leftists, right? So where did Antifa actually come from? Well, a lot of people believe that the group actually originated in the 1970s with other people who got together and they opposed World War II dictators such as Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. Now, Mark Bray, the author of the Anti-Fascist Handbook, states that they originated in the 1980s or 1990s, where they actually confronted neo-Nazis and white supremacists. So Antifa has actually been gaining a lot of public attention in the recent years because of their provocations and violence at rallies and protests all around the United States and abroad. Their lack of structure may be one of the reasons why they've survived this long. They're spread out around the entire country in secret chapters. Now, let me give you some more background on that. Groups are small due to concerns of infiltration. So what that means is that they can be infiltrated by law enforcement without them knowing. So to combat this, what they do is they don't allow new members, or at least some groups don't allow any new members at all. And if they do take on new members, they're actually vetted for months and even years to make sure they're not like Donnie Brasco or just hiding out as a mole. This is one of the reasons why they've actually kept their numbers so small, and they're actually flying under the radar because they do not want to be infiltrated by anyone who should not be there. Now, let's get into the reason why they're being labeled as domestic terrorist groups. In 2018, the Congressional Research Service did a report and it outlined that they have 4 obligations as members of Antifa if they want to join this organization, or should I call it these loose chapters all around the country. Number 1 is that they have to track the activity of fascist groups and publicly expose them and even dox them. So for all of you out there who don't know what that means, doxing is basically taking your personal information such as your full name, your address, or any other information that's pertinent to you, and they publicly display it for other people to actually harass you. That's doxing. Number 2 would be to oppose their public organizations at rallies and events. They also have to support anti-fascist allies such as the LGBT movement or the BML movement, which we're all familiar with. They also are not allowed to cooperate with law enforcement. And this is one of the reasons why they're popping up on the Fed's radar. So recently, Donald Trump held a press conference where he actually attributed much of the violence, the looting, and the vandalism to Antifa.
The violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings.
He even went as far as tweeting out the following. He says, Antifa will be designated as a domestic terrorist group. Now remember Mark Bray, the one who wrote the book, he stepped in and said that it's not possible for Antifa to actually do this because of their lack of numbers and capabilities. I don't know, but this Mark Bray guy keeps popping up, and it seems to me like he may have more to do with this Antifa movement than he leads on to believe. On the other hand, some legal experts are actually saying that a move by Trump such as this would be unconstitutional, and if it is legal, it'd be very difficult to enforce. So the White House has actually responded back by stating the following. Press Secretary Kylie McEnany has stated that there's already statutes in place that would allow Donald Trump to take such movements that protect us against domestic terrorism. So I did some fact checking and actually found that what she's saying is true. I'll leave the statute down below in the description section if you want to take a look for yourself. So who else is saying that Antifa is a danger to America? Well, recently Rudolph Giuliani said the following. He said that the FBI has text showing Antifa's involvement, and they are people who want to drive down the government. Next is Attorney General William Barr. He has stated that the out-of-state instigators are involved in violence and engaging in domestic terrorism, and they will be dealt with accordingly. Those sound like fighting words to me.
In many places, it appears the violence is planned by anarchic and far-left extremist groups using Antifa-like tactics, many of whom travel from outside the state to promote the violence.
Also, the FBI has chimed in and stated that they are investigating anarchist extremists, and some of those people subscribe to an Antifa-like ideology. So it seems like there are a lot of different people and groups who are pointing at Antifa as being a domestic terrorist group. Now, why are they getting such a bad rap from everyone? Well, number one, let me start with telling you that in 2017, they attacked a peaceful right-wing protest in Berkeley, California. This is when he first started to really come on the scene. There was dozens of articles written on them because of this incident. Next, I also want to bring up that they're guilty of throwing explosives at police at a right-wing speaker gathering a few months later. So they're just causing mayhem all over the place. Now, the most respected police officer, probably in the entire United States, the police chief of New York City, has also come out stating that a lot of outsiders are coming into New York City and causing all types of mayhem.
And get those groups out of here from California, from all over this country, who are being paid to take this movement, which is a good movement, and turn it into violence against the men and women who love the communities. Yeah. Get them out of here, throw them out of your protests, protest peacefully. Why would anyone break into a store in your neighborhood?
Now, there's also been reports from protesters who actually have caught Antifa members defacing property, causing violence, and then stirring up the crowd.
These people's way of Let me tell you this is not a black woman who's put in Black Lives Matter. I just want you to know that right, but y'all doing that for us, and we ain't asked you to do that. Listen, don't spray stuff on here when they gonna blame black people for this, and black people didn't do it. There's a black person, but if we wanted you to do it, we would have asked. They not gonna show y'all faces when they see that on their building. They gonna blame that on us. Y'all are part of the problem.
Now, who funds Antifa? Now, these details are actually not 100% clear, but I'm going to give you the information that I found. Since they're not one organized group, it's very difficult to track any of their cash transactions or any of the money that flows through their systems. Since they're so broken up and secretive, it's really hard to track where the money is coming from. But now let me tell you what some other people are saying. The vast majority of Twitter users are blaming billionaire George Soros for paying protesters to riot, and that he secretly funds Antifa through his Open Society Foundation. Now, these are pretty staggering accusations. Now, let's see if we can dig up some more information. Even well-known Republicans are taking to Twitter and spreading this unconfirmed information and trying to get the hashtag SorosGate and Soros to trend on Twitter. Now, I don't know, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire. There is no proof out there that George Soros is behind this, but there is a lot of people stating that some of these protesters are in fact getting paid to riot, are getting paid to protest and incite other protesters. Now, here's something that you may have not thought of. Why is it that they always wear black and they also wear masks? Well, one of the reasons why is because intimidation tactic known as black bloc. Now, prior to this pandemic that we're currently in, they used to wear masks to all of their protests, all their rallies, and every time they would try to infiltrate one of them. So it was a common occurrence for them, but they would stick out like a sore thumb. But because of the pandemic now, it's widely acceptable to be wearing a mask on the street, which has made it very easy for them to fit right in and actually cause even more harm than they were causing before. So after finding all this information, my heart goes out to those business owners who have lost their livelihoods and lost their entire life savings because of these events. But let me just go on to say that the best way to defeat a nation such as ours is by dividing and conquering. This is the way it's always been done throughout history. And right now, what I feel is that we're going through something exactly just like that. Groups like this, what they're doing is they're actually dividing us. And I'm not going to say right now to you that I belong to a left-wing or right-wing party. I really don't care. All I do is I wake up every day, I go to work, and I do my thing. I really don't care what affiliation anyone is. But what I am saying is that when there's people and there's groups such as this that not only try to divide us, but also cause hatred and violence and all this crime that we're currently experiencing, I don't like that. And I don't stand for that. I do stand for this. I may not believe in what you say, and you may not believe in what I say, but I respect and I'll fight for the right that you have to say that. And I'll fight for your beliefs because I have mine, which you may not agree with, but we all live in America. The land where we can think what we want, say what we want, and practice any type of religion we want without anyone interfering. But groups like this, like Antifa, they're actually getting in the way of our liberties. And this is the real danger that's going on here. Businesses can be rebuilt. Hopefully everyone comes back on their feet stronger than ever. But when our American society is divided and split because of groups like this, that is the real danger. Now, I'm reminded by a quote that Ronald Reagan once said,
"In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?"
So basically what he's stating is that we would get our differences so quickly out of the way if we had another enemy bigger than us to face. But the reality of it is that we do. Right now we're fighting each other. We're Americans, we're fellow Americans, and we see each other as the enemy when we're not. There's so many things out there that can come out and sweep the rug right under us, such as China becoming too powerful, such as the unemployment rate hitting almost 30%. We need to focus on things such as our health, and we need to focus on retaining our #1 position among the world as the strongest economy. Now, I know some of you out there may not agree with what I'm saying. Maybe you have your different opinions, and I respect that. And I encourage everyone who has anything to say about this topic to leave it down below in the comment section. So we'd like to thank you for watching this video and making it all the way to the end. If you're interested in seeing the resources we use to create this video, I'm going to leave it down below in the description section. And as always, if you'd like to join our community, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with a friend. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.